On November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated right out here while traveling in a motorcade to the Dallas Trade Mart. Now there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, but we're just going to focus on what we do know involving Lee Harvey Oswald and JFK. I'm in an alleyway right now. Right next to the house is 214 West Neely Street. Lee Harvey Oswald and his wife lived here for a very short time in 1963. This was the boarding house. They lived upstairs in this house in the month of March, I believe, 1963. I think they let you tour the place now. I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody lives here now. Possibly. A very famous picture took place right in the backyard. If you look at that ladder in the backyard, very famous picture of Lee Harvey Oswald holding a rifle and some papers. It was taken in March of 1963. I'm on 2515 West 5th Street in Irving, Texas, and right beside me is the house of Ruth Paine. Oswald's wife, Marina, and his 2 children stayed here with Ruth Paine while he worked in Dallas and stayed at the rooming house in Oak Cliff. During the week while Lee worked at the school book depository, he would stay at a boarding house in Oak Cliff, but on the weekends he would come back here to visit his family. On Thursday, November 21st, 1963, Oswald told a co-worker he needed to come back early to pick up some curtain rods that his wife had made for him for his new apartment. Early Friday morning, November 22nd, 1963, Oswald woke up, left his wedding ring and some cash on the side of the bed, and left with the package and headed to the Texas School Book Depository. I'm at Dealey Plaza right now, the site of where President Kennedy was shot. The motorcade would have came down this road in Dallas on Houston Street. And there's a school book depository. It would have made a left. And then turn the corner right down here. Here's the spot that Abraham Zapruder was standing on top of here while his secretary was keeping him steady. He made the famous 8mm film. There was another photographer right in this area, and so they got the car coming from this direction, but In the film, you can actually make out Abraham Zapruder right up there. You know, he's right up in there. And right to the left is a grassy knoll. There's some stairs right in front of me. That's where the cops went running up to look when they said they saw smoke coming from there. There's a shot of the school book depository. The trees are pretty much a lot taller than they were in 1963. As Kennedy was coming down here in his motorcade, he was shot in the neck. And there's an X that marks the spot right there. There's the final X, where Kennedy got shot in the head and was finally killed. Up there, there's the school book depository. Over here is the grassy knoll, where some say they saw smoke coming from here. They were shooters, so these cops ran up these stairs to check it out. Just walking up to the famous grassy knoll right now. I'm up on the grassy knoll, and you can actually see, trying to make it out. Yeah, there it is, right in front of me. Right here's the fence. There's the headshot right there. And a little ways up there is another X right up there, if I can see it, for the next shot. Now that's a possibility. Walking out to the old train yard, where there were reports of seeing men that were dressed like they were homeless, and they were suspected of being shooters, possibly. It's right around in here. It just so happens the train is coming. But right around here, the train area, and right here is the bridge. You can see where, if some of these things were, the trees were different, you had access to shoot, possibly, if there was another shooter. There's the X that he got shot in the head, and the next shot is right up there. There were reports that a shot came from this 6th floor window, and some people said they saw a figure. Shortly after Kennedy was shot, Lee Harvey Oswald left the building, took a bus for 2 blocks, and then took a taxi back to the boarding room that he was renting. Oswald had a taxi drop him off a few blocks, and he got out and walked to his rooming house on 1026 Beckley Avenue. There's his rooming house right there, 1026. When Oswald arrived, the maid said he walked in really fast, didn't say anything, went straight to his room, and then left really quickly with a jacket. On 10th and Patton, This is the site where Officer Tippit, J.D. Tippit, was murdered on November 22nd, 1963, following President Kennedy's assassination. Right in front of me where that truck is where the police car would have been, right there. Like any JFK conspiracy, 10th and Patton is not without its own conspiracies. Some people even said Oswald couldn't have walked here in the amount of time that the cop got shot from his house and boarding room. Other people say that Oswald had a body double. Some people say Jack Ruby shot him. I don't know, but the final report was that Oswald was walking. The officer pulled up beside him and he asked him some questions, and Oswald leaned into the window, and the cop got out and Oswald shot him 3 times and then fled the scene. Now, many people heard the shots and actually saw somebody that resembled Oswald running from the scene, but the only person that said they actually saw the whole thing take place was Helen Markham, and she was right around there, right in front of me. A lot of people try to disqualify her testimony and said she didn't really see anything, but she picked Oswald in a lineup, so she has the biggest testimony. Here's the Texas Theater in Dallas off Jefferson. Oswald came to the Texas Theater after Officer Tippit was shot. He entered without pain. Shortly after, he was apprehended by the local police. Although charged, Lee Harvey Oswald would never go to trial for the murder of President Kennedy and Officer J.D. Tippit. There's the old Dallas Police Headquarters. This is where they brought Lee Harvey Oswald in for the murder of J.D. Tippit. And eventually, then he would be charged for the assassination of President Kennedy. He would spend 2 days here. It was in the parking garage. They were going to bring Lee Harvey Oswald out to take him to the county jail. And as they were bringing him out, Jack Ruby came out and shot him. November 24th, 1963. In Laurel Land in Dallas, Officer J.D. Tippit is buried. I'm at Shannon Rose Hill Cemetery in Fort Worth, Texas. This is where Lee Harvey Oswald is buried. Directly to the right is the grave of Nick Beef, which he doesn't really exist. The story goes, people would come out here looking for Lee's grave, and the cemetery wouldn't give any directions to get here. So someone eventually bought this plot right here, added the stone Nick Beef. So people would come and ask, hey, where's Nick Beef? And they would give them directions here, and eventually they caught on and they stopped doing that. But now it's pretty easy. It's by the western side. There's a chain link fence, and there's a mausoleum that says Shannon. You walk a little ways, Oswald, right next to Nick Beef, which no one is buried in here. Kind of an interesting story.